In Sicily, police are conducting urgent house-to-house searches in the town of Niscemi, enforcing a newly expanded 150-meter safety buffer following last week's landslide. The January 25th landslide ripped open a 4-kilometer stretch of hillside, leaving homes dangerously perched above a 25-meter abyss.
On February 2, 2026, residents watching from evacuation barriers outside Niscemi, Sicily, witnessed a failure that would later be confirmed by surveillance footage in chilling detail. At exactly 2:47 p.m., a 3-story residential building that had stood for more than a century suddenly tore itself apart. Its eastern wall separated from the structure and collapsed into the expanding void below. There was no warning, no visible cracking, no audible settling, just abrupt, catastrophic failure that reduced a family home to rubble in under 30 seconds. It was the 4th major structural collapse in 48 hours. Seismic monitoring stations surrounding the failure zone had already recorded low-frequency tremors at irregular intervals every 6 to 18 hours, each corresponding to periods when additional ground gave way. What made the situation unprecedented was not the collapse itself, but the pattern behind it. The failures were not slowing, they were accelerating. Between January 25th, when the main landslide activated, and February 2, the unstable zone expanded from an initial scarp 1.6 kilometers wide to more than 5 kilometers. The plateau edge retreated inland by an estimated 50 to 70 meters. Entire neighborhoods that showed no visible distress just 2 weeks earlier were suddenly declared uninhabitable. More than 1,300 residents were displaced. On February 1, Civil Protection Director Salvo Cochina issued a statement that broke with the cautious language typical of disaster response. "We cannot predict where the retrogressive failure will stop," he said. "Every building within 50 to 70 meters of the current edge is at imminent risk, but seismic signals suggest the instability extends much deeper into the town. We may need to expand evacuations again." The question confronting authorities was stark. Would this landslide stabilize once the most unstable material failed, or had Cyclone Harry's extreme rainfall triggered a self-perpetuating geological collapse that would continue consuming Niscemi until the plateau retreated to stable terrain? To understand why buildings kept collapsing days after the initial failure, it was necessary to understand the mechanism of retrogressive plateau edge failure and why each collapse makes the next one more likely. Niscemi sits atop an elevated plateau bounded by steep slopes descending into surrounding valleys. The flat surface exists because erosion-resistant caprock, sandstone or limestone, overlies weaker clay-rich sedimentary layers. Over time, erosion removes the clay at the plateau's edges, leaving the harder caprock partially unsupported. Tension cracks form parallel to the cliff edge. Eventually, blocks of caprock fail, sliding or rotating along curved failure surfaces in the underlying clay. When one block collapses, it removes lateral support from the next. That block becomes the new edge. The process repeats. This is retrogressive failure, a self-propagating collapse that moves inland, not outward. For centuries, this process advanced slowly, measured in centimeters per year. Buildings stood for generations. The plateau appeared stable on human timescales. Then, Cyclone Harry changed the equation. Between January 12th and January 17th, 2026, the rare Mediterranean cyclone stalled over Sicily, delivering rainfall far beyond modern records. Some areas received nearly 300 millimeters in 48 hours. Winds exceeded 150 kilometers per hour. Offshore buoys recorded waves approaching 16 meters. The rain did not simply run off, it infiltrated deep into the plateau's clay layers. Clay minerals common in Sicily, smectite and illite, absorb water efficiently. As they saturated, pore pressure increased, particle bonds weakened, and shear strength collapsed. Engineering studies show that saturation can reduce clay shear strength by up to 70%. Slopes that were marginally stable for centuries became unstable within days. The first warning appeared on January 16th, when tension cracks opened along Provincial Road 12, roughly 100 to 150 meters inland from the plateau edge. These were not surface defects. They signaled deep-seated ground movement. The clay was deforming. The caprock was beginning to separate. Evacuations began. Monitoring equipment was deployed, but nothing predicted what next. On January 25th, at approximately 1 p.m., slow deformation abruptly transitioned into catastrophic failure. A collapse front nearly 4 kilometers long gave way, creating a vertical scarp up to 20 meters high. Neighborhoods that had been on flat ground suddenly ended at a cliff edge. Homes once safely inland were now meters from open space. More than 1,300 residents fled with little notice. What followed revealed the true danger. The collapse did not end, it evolved. On February 31, a 3-story building roughly 40 meters from the edge collapsed without warning. On February 2, 2 more followed, each occurring after moderate rainfall, enough to resaturate clays that had only partially drained. By February 2, seismic data confirmed a pattern. Dr. Alessandro Bonforte of Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology identified repeated seismic bursts every 6 to 18 hours, signals consistent with progressive subsurface failure. Each collapse redistributed stress within the unstable mass, triggering the next. The ground was failing in stages. This meant the process would not stop simply because material had already moved. As long as saturated clay remained beneath the plateau edge, retrogressive collapse would continue inland. The consequences cascaded across every system built on the assumption of ground stability. Roads failed, utilities were shut down, schools closed. Cultural heritage sites, including a historic library containing thousands of irreplaceable documents, now sit within the red zone, potentially inaccessible before collapse. Economic damage is estimated at 1.5 billion euros. Insurance coverage is being withdrawn. Homeowners face properties that are uninsurable, unsaleable, and possibly uninhabitable. The psychological toll is severe, a disaster that doesn't end, only advances. Authorities have concluded that engineering solutions are largely infeasible. Retaining structures cannot stabilize an entire plateau. Drainage systems cannot be installed in actively failing ground. Reinforcement fails when collapse surfaces lie 20 to 40 meters deep and stretch for kilometers. The only viable option under consideration is managed abandonment. This crisis is not unique. Sicily contains extensive regions with similar geology. Climate projections indicate that Mediterranean cyclones like Harry will become more frequent and intense. Italy already records over 620,000 known landslides, more than any other European nation. Niscemi may not be an anomaly, it may be a preview. As of February 2, collapses continue. Seismic signals show no deceleration. The red zone may expand further inland. Monitoring can measure the failure with precision. It cannot stop it. The buildings are not collapsing because construction failed or warnings were ignored. They are collapsing because extreme rainfall saturated clay beneath the plateau edge that was never truly stable, triggering a retrogressive failure sequence that feeds on itself. The process will continue until the geology changes or until the town retreats to ground that can support it.